Hello. Hi everyone. Welcome back. We're doing another wrap up. Can anyone tell me how June is already over? Because that's absurd. Happy July. We're gonna go through a very interesting month. This was a month where I feel like I read a lot of really great books, but they were so spread out that I felt like I was in some kind of reading slump. I feel like I picked up and put down a lot of books. Ooh, I have one. Ooh, hold on. I have one more. Physical books. Can you believe? I'm not used to this. I'm not used to having so many physical books in my reading wrap up. So yeah, I picked up and put down a lot of books. I'm probably not going to mention them because it had nothing to do with the books themselves. The reason why I put them down after reading like one page, that was very me. My problem. So yeah, I actually, looking at the list, had a better reading month than I thought I did, which is great. So before we dive in, actually the very last book I read this month is thanks to the sponsor of this video, which is Book of the Month. Yes, indeed. You know them, you love them. What is Book of the Month? It's a subscription service where you can get a newly released hardcover book. They also have audiobooks, by the way. Something to look into. New releases for a low, controlled price. They have brought me some of my favorite books. They have introduced me to new genres. I feel like I am more willing to take a chance on genres. We love Book of the Month. You can use my code WAVES, like the beach, to get your first Book of the Month book for $9.99. You can go to bookofthemonth.com. They have some great picks this month. Which ones did I grab? The first one is The God of the Woods. When a teenager vanishes from her Adirondack summer camp, two worlds collide. It's a story of inheritance, second chances, tensions between a family and a community, and a history that will not let any of them go. I feel like a kind of thriller taking place at a summer camp, perfect for July. So excited for this one. And then one that I will talk about more in depth at the end of this video, The Love of My Afterlife. Yes, indeed, I read a rom-com. Fun fact, Book of the Month is the reason why I read The Love Hypothesis. So they started this whole thing. So yes, The Love of My Afterlife, first page of the book, our main character dies. Maybe she gets a second chance at life, at love, but what if she screws it up? That's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, Love of My Afterlife was my next pick. Stay tuned. So once again, you can use my code WAVES to get your first book for $9.99. Again, you can also check out, they have audiobooks available. We love Book of the Month. I trust their team so much. They comb through all the new releases, pick them out for you, so you can pick one or more books every month. I mean, what more is there to say? Thank you so much to Book of the Month, and we'll chat about this in a second. Let's dive in, shall we, to the books that I read in June. My list for some reason still says April, so clearly I haven't been all there for the past 2 months. The first book, I picked it up simply because I was wasting time in a bookstore. I was waiting for a friend, escaping the summer heat, and I made the horrible decision of spending time in a bookstore, perusing. And I picked up The Turnglass, or is it just Turnglass? No, it is The Turnglass. The reason that it got me was because it's one of those books that you have to turn. So we basically are told a story this way, and then you flip it, and then you are told a story this way. And I was just, that alone intrigued me. I'm gonna be honest, I was quite let down by this book. Based on my notes, one story, the first part is set in England in the 1800s, where a doctor is sent to a remote island that only has like one house on it, to find out what's killing his uncle, and he discovers some weird stuff going on in the house. And then the second story takes place in the 1930s in LA, and we follow an actor who, through like the 1930s Hollywood party scene, becomes friends with an author who is writing a book. Yeah, just, interesting ideas, interesting concept, execution, not quite for me. But like I said, great, love it. Love this. any book can be written like this and I'll buy it. That's the turnglass. Next up, I read Where the Dark Stands Still. This was another one that wasn't extremely memorable, but if you are looking for a standalone fantasy, I thought it was quite sweet and sad and had a very old-timey fairy tale feeling to it. We follow a girl who heads off into the woods to try and find this enchanted flower to wish away her magic, because she sees her magic as a curse and she would just like to get rid of it, please. And she needs to take this opportunity, like this one night a year where this flower will bloom, and grant her wish. Of course, things don't go to plan. She ends up having to work for the god of the forest for, I think it's a full year, in order for him to decide what he's gonna do with her. I thought, again, if you like the kind of old-timey fairy tale feeling, it definitely captured that. I will say that she went a little hard on the similes. Everything was as dark as the night, as red as the blood, as soft as a feather, everything. So it felt like her descriptions didn't hit as hard because everything was described with such flowery language. It would have, I think, if she had just been able to say like, the book was blue and the ink was, and then like able to describe, pick one detail to describe deeply, I was just kind of thrown off by how every single thing needed to be compared to something else. But once you got over that, I feel like that was just in the world building stage. Once we actually start the story, I enjoyed it. I was never really sure where it was going. I think when like certain other characters are introduced, I thought things would go one way and it goes another. So I did appreciate that it wasn't so cookie cutter. It doesn't have my personal favorite type of ending, but I do think if you are looking for this kind of dark fairy tale feeling, Where the Dark Stands Still, it achieved that. And it's a standalone, so it gets points for that. I appreciated it. After that, I read My Throat and Open Grave. Ethel Cain everywhere upon this book. This is about a girl who is raised in this small, creepy, religious town. I believe it's in Appalachia, and it's surrounded by this forest that steals children. And in order to get the children back, the town has to send the sinner, because the reason that the children are getting stolen is because someone in the town is sinning, and this is their comeuppance. They need to send the sinner into the forest to go talk to the Lord of the Forest and get whoever was taken back. Usually, almost always, it is young girls who are considered the sinners, and they are sent as like a tribute, a sacrifice. And no one has ever come back. Our girl has to go get her baby brother, and we follow her as she goes to the Lord of the Forest, uncovers secrets of not only the forest but of her town. I actually really liked it. I think it's very dark. I think that definitely look up the trigger warnings. It had a couple twists that I didn't see coming, and it just had this very unique atmosphere of this kind of small town America. I liked it. I thought it was unique, and I thought it dealt with trauma in a really interesting way. And yeah, very like young adult Ethel Cain coded for sure. My Throat and Open Grave. After that, I read a work of nonfiction. I read The Maniac. I was in a cafe and there were a bunch of girls reading, like all of us in the cafe were reading, and one girl had a physical book so I could kind of snoop and look at the cover, because that's quite rare. In Korea, I usually see people reading either ebooks or like not reading in public, so I'm very nosy when it comes to seeing physical books. And she was reading this book called The Maniac. This is sort of about the birth of computers, specifically kind of building towards AI, and it's more focused on all of the kind of genius personalities of the era. We also get kind of a moment of the kind of Oppenheimer time, the Manhattan Project and things like that. Just talking about like scientists and morality and what is your responsibility as a scientist. Like Oppenheimer wasn't like, wow, I really want to build a bomb that kills 500,000 people. He was in it for the science, but it's like, at what point do we stop? Can we stop, etc.? And then we go on to talk about AI and specifically like AlphaGo and now AlphaZero. It was just really interesting, and I thought the way that it was told for someone who doesn't really understand a lot of mathematics and science, it was really engaging because it was also about just the personal relationships between all of these kind of leading minds, I suppose. I really liked it. And then I was able to talk to Kurt about this stuff because this is what he's interested in and I kind of know nothing. So yeah, I definitely recommend if you are interested in that, but you kind of don't know what's going on or you're intimidated by mathematics and things like that. This was really great. So that is The Maniac. I have another physical. Excuse me. Oh, sorry, I have another physical. Incredibly quickly. It's like 70 pages long. I read The Hour of the Star by Clarice Lispector. I read this somewhat out of spite. I saw one of many think pieces about booktok and the performance of reading, and the author kept talking about Clarice Lispector, and I was like, I actually haven't read Lispector, so why not? And when I looked up kind of how to start reading her, people said to start with this one, even though it's her last work, it kind of captures who she is as a writer. So Hour of the Star, actually really funny in a very sad way. We follow a narrator. I think that, okay, so technically the story is about a girl, but probably 50 to 75% of the book is our narrator getting us ready for the story. He's very much like, all right, setting the scene here. I'm going to tell you a story about this girl. She's kind of pathetic. Honestly, she's really boring. She's not that smart. I don't know why we would tell a story about her, but I just can't get her out of my head. So here we go. But just to prepare you, all right? And he just goes on and on and on about why he wants to tell the story, who this girl is. And flipping through, I literally have underlines, multiple annotations on every page. The writing was just beautiful, but also so engaging because the narrator is literally just like, all right, listen up. We're working on this story together. You have to pay attention. I ended up reading it in one long sitting. Again, I think it's like 77 pages. Darkly funny, I think, and just kind of incredibly sad. I definitely recommend it. And shout out to Brazil, because I have so many people in my comment section telling me that this Clarice is required reading in their school. So they were excited to see someone else read it. So yeah, Hour of the Star, definitely recommend. Next up, a book recommended by many, many of you, including my mom, Beautyland. I finally got my hands on it. This was a long holds list at the library. Luckily, I was told what it's about. Normally I try to go into books with absolutely no background. I think knowing a little bit about it before I started reading helped with any kind of confusion. We basically have two things happen at once. We have the human race launching a satellite filled with media that can kind of explain our species. In case any aliens come upon it, they can listen to some music, they can see some pictures, etc. As we are sending that out, the aliens are sending a baby to Earth to learn about the humans, to help exchange information, etc. Of course, the baby doesn't know what she's supposed to be doing because she's a baby. So it's not until she's a little bit older that the aliens that sent her contact her, and they communicate via fax machine for her entire life, basically exchanging what she observes about the human race. And she just continues to live an average human life. I will say that it kind of lost me for a bit. Like the middle chunk, I was kind of tired. I think the best parts for the beginning, I really enjoyed the beginning, and then in the middle, kind of the only thing that I enjoyed were her reflections, the conversations she had with the aliens. And then at the end, we got a really beautiful picture of grief and love. But I pushed myself through this book. I think that it might hit for some people, but for me, it was just something about it didn't grab me all the way through. But if you're looking for just kind of a darkly, again, kind of like a darkly funny book, this kind of innocent look at humans and how silly we are and complicated we are, and you know, I understand why some people love it. It just wasn't 100% for me. That's Beautyland. I still would recommend you giving it a try if that sounds up your alley. Otherwise, maybe get in that holds line at the library for it. For the next book, my past self is really helping me out with my notes. It just says, so good, in all caps. And yeah, I made a TikTok/reel about it. The Invocations. Highly recommend. So this is by the same author who wrote House of Hollow, which I really liked, but I wouldn't say it was like a favorite. The Invocations, I would say, is a favorite. I'm still kind of riding the high of I just recently read it, but I still think it was a really great book. We follow 3 different people who all happen to converge, and they need to track down a serial killer in London who is killing witches. We have one girl who is a witch and she writes curses to help anyone who comes to her. We have one girl who is dealing with a curse and would like it to be lifted, please. And then we have another girl who needs a witch's help in order to work some necromancy, which is never good. And like I said, they all join together for this one cause of hunting down a serial killer. And it's all about, I guess, feminine rage and the trauma of being a woman. And I loved the characters, all 3 of them. I had such a good time with them. I can't really say that much more. It was just really good. I think that also something that is a mark of a great book is when we have books that are dealing with 3 distinct characters, like 3 POVs. Sometimes I feel like I either like it when the characters are alone by themselves, or I only like the book once the gang comes together. But in this book, I thought they were so strong by themselves, and once they were an ensemble, they just worked so well together. The dynamics were so interesting. Just had a really good time. I went in with high expectations, and they were met. So yeah, just really enjoyed it. The Invocations. Not to be confused with my next book. This was not planned, but now I can't pronounce the word. Evocation, Purple Burglar Alarm. This is by S.T. Gibson, who wrote A Dowry of Blood, which I enjoyed. But then recently, their most recent book was An Education in Malice, which was such a letdown because the concept of An Education in Malice was so good and it just fumbled it. So I was going into Evocation nervous, but I liked this one a lot more than Education in Malice, surprisingly. I think I maybe liked the concept a bit less, but I think that at least as a book, it was strong all the way through instead of just kind of dropping everything at the 50% mark. Looking at you, Education in Malice. Again, we are following 3 characters. This takes place in present day Boston, where we have this fraternity, this brotherhood of sorcerers. It is very like dealing with alchemy and necromancy and all of this stuff. Our story starts with one of our main characters going through a kind of seance and feeling like something went very wrong. He feels possessed, and in his line of work, it's not a good thing. So he has to turn to his former lover and former friend to help perform the exorcism, or at least figure out what the hell is going on. And that kind of opens a can of worms. The book starts off, I thought like the world building and the magic system was really interesting. I really love the setting of an urban fantasy, this very modern world. Like, he's a lawyer, and then after work he goes and does like seances and stuff, you know? I love that. So the beginning was great, and then it very quickly turns into being about polyamory, and we focus much more on the couple than anything else, or the throuple, I suppose. And so the plot fell a little bit on the wayside in terms of the actual like haunted house, demonic possession thing that we were dealing with. And I think that's really the issue that they had with an education in malice as well, is that there was this really great setup, and then we focused so heavily on the romance that we just forgot everything we were building towards, and that's what kind of frustrated me. This one didn't do it quite as strongly. I think that we still got a satisfying ending to our main character's possession troubles, but just know that going in that it's definitely going to take a turn and focus more on desire and romance. It wasn't bad. I liked it all the way through, but I just kind of wish that the author would just keep the plot as the plot and not let the romance subplot take over. That's my only issue with this author. Is I felt that even with Dowry of Blood a little bit. But if you are looking for an urban fantasy, and this will be a series actually, I would still recommend you give it a try. Evocation. Are we pronouncing that correctly? Maybe not. During this time, I was fighting my way through this collection of short stories, essays. This is Because They Wanted To by Mary Gateskill. I think I picked this up because I saw a quote from one of these stories that really stuck with me. I honestly don't remember. It's been so long. I am at a third of the way through. They are beautifully written, but they make me very angry. So every single story so far has been about a character, and you think that like the ending of the story, oh, whatever issue is going to be resolved, or oh, their life is going to be better by the end of this story. No, never. Never the case. Either no change or they're off for the worse by the end. So I was just getting frustrated because I just kind of wanted a happy story. So don't go reading her work if you are looking for any kind of like hopeful, uplifting feeling. This is very much just like, the world sucks. Let me write about it in a very beautiful way, but like, people suck. Life is hard. So this has not been finished, but this was kind of in the background of this entire month. I have been chipping away. There's your warning. I would still recommend it if you want some beautiful prose, but man, I wanted to throw this book a couple times because they wanted to. Next up, to turn it completely around, I felt like between Evocation and this book, I felt like I was picking up and putting down books constantly. I wanted something easy to read, something that was guaranteed to get me back into reading. And ironically, this book took me a really long time to get through, but I'm happy to report for all of those who keep recommending it, I did finally read Twin Crowns. Yes, I did. So Twin Crowns follows twin sisters separated at birth. One continued on as her rightful role as princess, and one was stolen away to live with the witches. Their parents were murdered on the day of their birth. Our witch sister is going to swoop in, take the throne back, and help the witches get back into power. Princess has no knowledge that she is a twin. She has been raised to be perfect princess girl under the watchful eyes of her father's former advisor, who we know is a little piece of shit. So it's dual POV. I enjoyed it. It was very easy to read, but something about it was just a little too tropey, a little too predictable. It almost had a cozy feeling because it felt nostalgic and like, oh, I've read this before kind of feeling. So I wouldn't go into it if you want something brand new. I am still waiting for the other two books, but I'm kind of in no rush to read them. Like the second characters were introduced, you were like, okay, I know what's gonna happen with them. Things happened a little too quickly, maybe a little too easily, but that being said, it was fine. I think maybe just because of my personal life, like my concentration this month, it took me a really long time to get through. But for someone who is maybe not having concentration issues, this was just a simple, fun book. I thought that the relationships were quite sweet. I thought that the magic system was interesting, the environment, the world building, just nothing new, and that's okay. That is Twin Crowns. I did read it, and one day I promise I will finish the series. Don't worry, it's on my list. Twin Crowns. After that, I recognized that I was really struggling to read, and what shakes me out of a reading slump more than a rom-com, I do not know. I finally read Beach Read, I know, by Emily Henry. Yeah. So for Emily Henry, I have only read Book Lovers and Funny Story. I've been hesitant to read Beach Read because everyone says that's their favorite Emily Henry. So this was kind of like, I was breaking out the big guns. Okay, I was like, we need to break this reading slump or this just like not fun reading month. Balls in your court, Emily Henry. She did it. Good work, girl. Thank you as always. Read it in one day. We follow a writer who is heading to this lake house in Michigan for the summer to kind of clean up her father's secret love nest, I guess. Basically, her father recently passed away. She found out that he was cheating on her mother and had this secret house where he would have his second romance. He left it to her in the will. She's gonna clean it up, sell it. But in the meantime, she also needs to settle down and write this book that she's struggling to write because she's a romance author and she is not feeling very happy ending-y with all of this news about her father, which her mother and father were like the example of a happy ending of romance. And so to find out that it was all a lie, shattered. She cannot write her book. So she's going to settle down in this lake house and not leave until she has a book written. Her noisy, grumpy neighbor might have other plans. This was all right. Maybe I'm gonna get hate for this. I feel like I need to reread Book Lovers because that was one of the first rom-coms I ever read. So maybe I am misremembering, or maybe because the genre was still very fresh for me, I liked it more, or like in my memory, I like it more. Beach Read was, first of all, less beachy. I just gotta say it. I was really expecting some more beach summery vibes. This was much more like a Michigan rainy summer. They spent a lot of time indoors and it was much more focused on writing and well, I don't want to get too much into it. Yeah, it was very enjoyable. I laughed, I cried. There are letters. When you get to the letters, have a tissue box. Like, what the fuck? Thank God I was home because I started this book in public. I was out on a picnic blanket, having the time of my life reading this cozy book. Thank God I got home before I read close to the ending because... Okay, so it was great. I kind of expected it to be a little bit more life-changing, but it was fine. It was excellent. I just have a bone to pick with Emily Henry's sex scenes because there's always something that doesn't map out because I'm very visual. So like if you're writing something, I'm gonna see it. And so if something just doesn't make sense physically, I get really confused. Famously, in Funny Story, she takes off her pants twice, which I'm just never gonna let go. I'm not okay with that. But in this book, there's a scene that involves a fridge, like a freezer, okay? And she's pressed up against the freezer. I don't know why. I don't know if she said it or if I didn't understand, but I'm picturing an upright freezer, right? But then he picks her up and puts her on top of it. And I'm like, why is she up so high? Like, how can he reach her? But it's actually I'll use photos. It's actually like, I don't know what they're called, but like a long freezer. It took me a really long time. I'm picturing this and I'm like, oh my God, she's gonna fall from a very great height. And he can't even reach, like, how big is this guy? Like, we're talking about him. He's a typical romantic lead, like a hunk of a man. But I'm like, if he's tall enough to be, like, on top of a freezer, that's too far. Like, Allie Hazelwood would never, right? So there's just always something with Emily Henry where I'm like, I would love to help her editor if she needs me to read the sex scenes and be like, why are the pants coming off twice? We have removed these. Let me know. Call me up. I'm very good at this. But that is Beach Read. I was thrown off by the refrigerator, brought to tears by the letters. I love a grump. Love a grump. So, Beach Read. Finally read it. Next up, I actually got my first ever library book from the Soul Library. We used to have a pretty sad selection when I've been living here for 10 years. 10 years ago, I went to the library and the English section was very sad. But recently, they have a wonderful selection. So I finally got my library card, and so now I have 3 library cards. Watch out, world. All right, we got San Diego, Philly, and Seoul. All right, so I was actually waiting for this for 8+ weeks at the Philadelphia library, but I got this at the Seoul one. I saw Gabby reading this. She did a video as well of like her subscribers recommending 5-star books. I picked this one up because she really liked it. This, I think, is a level above the Midnight Library. I think that the concept is a little cheesy. The concept's a little creative writing class prompt vibes, but I thought it was done well. So the measure is about one day in March. All of a sudden, everyone above the age of 22 is delivered a box on their doorstep. Inside the box is a string. Nobody could understand what it meant for a very long time. It was just kind of mass panic until we cracked the code, and the string symbolizes how long your life will be. And like if you measure it and enter it into this website, you can figure ballpark of 5 years, I think it might even be 2 years, of when your life will end. And we follow, I think it's like 6 or 7 different POVs, how people live after this. We have couples that break up because they don't have similar lifespans and they don't want to deal with the heartbreak. We have people who become really self-destructive. We have people who change their lives around for the better. We have people who choose never to look and never to know. Talking about like legislation, how certain countries force you to look and report your lifespan. Other countries ask you not to look at all. Just like a very interesting concept. I think it felt a little hokey. Like I said, I think the whole like, what would you do if one day everyone knew when they were gonna die? I think that concept is a little overused, but I personally loved each character. We dove into, near the end of the book, we got introduced to 3 characters that I personally didn't care about, but I thought the beginning especially was really strong, and then the ending, okay. So yeah, I would say it's not really groundbreaking. It felt a little cheesy, but I think that the characterization was really great, and certain ideas that I didn't think about that would come into play if people knew how long they would be living. I wouldn't say it was a 5-star read, but I liked it. Again, Anthony, Jack, and Javier, sorry, don't care. But everyone else was quite interesting, so that is the measure. After that, technically, I read it physically, but I already have passed it off to a friend. That is Blue Sisters by Coco Malors. This author wrote Cleopatra and Frankenstein, which I read, I guess, last year or maybe 2 years ago, and not the book for me. I did not like it. I liked the cover. I liked the first chapter and I liked the last chapter, and I thought that the rest was very annoying, very unrealistic, and just kind of writing unlikable characters for the sake of writing unlikable characters. It was just a big no for me. So I was not interested at all in picking up Blue Sisters, but I saw so many people say that they enjoyed it, and I was like, you know what? I was at a bookstore where they were having a big sale, and I was like, might as well. Again, cool cover. So they get me. This one was very different. I do still think that she writes unlikable, traumatized, troubled characters, but I thought that this one, the characters were much more interesting. They felt more human, and I liked their dynamic versus this, the Cleopatra and Frank, which no. We follow 3 sisters who are dealing with the anniversary of the death of their 4th sister. They are spread around the world. We have one sister in LA, one in London, one in Paris, bopping around everywhere. When they get the news that their mother is preparing to sell the apartment in New York that they grew up in, they all kind of get in contact with each other to figure out what are they gonna do. And we just kind of see the sisters come together and finally sort of confront their grief and all of their issues, because they are all self-destructing in unique ways. Yeah, I thought it was very engaging. There was never a point where I kind of spaced out, and I enjoyed each of the characters. Normally when there's 3 POVs, I might find one that is stronger than the other, but I actually was interested equally in all 3. I shed a few tears. I definitely shed a few tears. So I would definitely say give Coco another shot if you, like me, did not enjoy Cleopatra and Frankenstein. Blue Sisters hit different, and I enjoyed. After that, again, I was kind of battling a concentration issue this month. So I decided to give myself a break and read some short stories. Reads with Rachel did a video about reading some short stories. The great thing about Reads with Rachel is that I know any book that she loves, I will love. The trick is she also hates some of my favorite books. So I can't trust her negative reviews, but I can always trust her positive reviews. So she also recommended by Alix Harrow, a Spindle Splinter. This has been on my list and her video pushed me to read it. So thank you, Rachel. This is a short story. It's 120 pages about a girl with a terminal illness, and she, because of this, kind of really latches on to the fairy tale of Sleeping Beauty. It's written in a very modern, young voice. Our narrator, our main character, is just turning 21. She is coming to terms with the fact that her life expectancy is until age 22. And when she, maybe not, gets sucked into a fairy tale dimension in which she has to save a bunch of princesses from their curses, her first reaction is, oh shit. And we go on a ride with her. I thought it was a good time. It was so different from Six Deaths of a Saint. Like, I can't believe when authors can write in such vastly different voices, it blows my mind, but Alix Harrow can. And so don't go into it thinking you're gonna get a Six Deaths of a Saint situation, which you should read if you haven't. It's 30-something pages. This felt a little bit more like if you like Holly Black, Coldest Girl in Cold Town, Darkest Part of the Forest, like that kind of fairy tale meets Gen Z speech. That's what it was. It felt a little bit like Starling House, how that had a very fairy tale feel in a modern day. Age that down a little bit. It was just such a fun time. Honestly, I enjoyed. It was funny. It was quick to read. This is also a series. I'm not rushing to read the next one, A Mirror Mended, I believe it's called. I'm not sprinting towards that book, but I definitely will continue to read that mini series. Had a really good time. A Spindle Splintered. And then I followed that with another short story. This is in the same collection as Six Deaths of a Saint, and it is by Tamsin Muir of Gideon, Harrow, Nona, Alecto, where are you? Tamsin, Love of My Life. So Undercover was not what I expected at all. This is about, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil anything, but we are following a undercover cop who is infiltrating this kind of mafia organization. There is a nightclub that hosts a kind of after the main show. There's a side show where we have a girl who has been turned into essentially a zombie, and you can watch her eat weird shit. Like, she'll dance and then she eats like a lizard or something in her little cage. And so we are trying to bust the mafia for using a zombie girl as entertainment, okay? It's only 30-something pages. To be honest, I was confused, but it got me. I don't want to say anything else. Tamsin, good on you. You surprised me. So I think that the reading experience for me, I was reading it like, I'm confused. I'm following, but am I following? And then once you get to the end, you're kind of like, oh. The payoff, it's worth it. The kind of confusion is worth it for the payoff, in my mind. It's only 30-something pages. Give it a go, especially if you like kind of zombie stories, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, Tamsin, why did I even doubt you? That is Undercover. Where is it? All right. And after that, yesterday, I read The Love of My Afterlife. Immediately, we're talking page 21, chapter 3, My Chemical Romance, Slander. I want to give this book a negative star review simply for that. Who hurt you, Christy? Why are you coming for My Chemical Romance? They did nothing to you. They're like the one band that hasn't done shit. Like, come on. Anyway, so I almost wanted to put the book down because I was like, I'm never gonna get over this. I hate the main character. She redeemed herself slightly by having really nice things to say about girls with red hair, but on my shit list. All right. Love of My Afterlife. Our main character dies choking on a microwave burger. When she wakes up, her overly perky afterlife therapist is in her face, explaining the fact that she is dead. We learn that there may or may not be a way to go back to Earth, find her soulmate, and perhaps have a second chance of life. It's kind of Little Mermaid-esque in that sense. She can still speak, but okay, she has like a limited amount of time to go find her soulmate and have him kiss her. Okay? Her soulmate, who likes My Chemical Romance, by the way. Lucky her, finding a man with great taste. So off she goes. We follow her for 10 days as she tries to find the love of her life. You have to read this thinking of the main character as like a Bridget Jones Diary kind of character. She's so dumb. You know, Bridget Jones, like, just doesn't get certain things or reacts in a very bizarre way to things. So it was kind of annoying, to be honest, to read. But if you're okay with that kind of main character, that's just like, oh my God, I have to find this guy because I gave him chlamydia and he needs to know. So can you help me find his phone number? Like, she literally just makes shit up on the spot. That's so stupid. So you know what? Not my absolute favorite, but if you're okay with a book that's heavy on the tropes, maybe intentionally, and with a main character that's kind of over the top, silly, like very 90s rom-com feeling. Does that make any sense? Yeah, I just had to like suspend a lot of, like, none of these characters act their age. All of these characters feel fake as heck, okay? If you're okay with that, it will make you shed a tear. There is a very cute old man who is at the center of this book. It definitely had some good points. Like, it hit me. I'm glad that I read it. I read it in pretty much one sitting, but there were just some details where I was like, this is a little strange. And there was My Chemical Romance slander. I had so many people. I posted it on Instagram, and so many of you guys were in my DMs like, who is this? What book is this? Negative stars. So, yes, thank you for your support during this difficult time of reading an anti-My Chemical Romance fans book. But that's the Love of My Afterlife. And then finally, currently reading, I'm at 35%. I got a ARC for Lucy Undying. This is a Dracula story. It's told in how do I explain this? It's told in 3 different sections, not necessarily POVs. We follow Iris in present-day London, who is trying to sell this mansion that her mother left her when she died. She's the heir to this incredible fortune and possibly heir to other things that she doesn't want to inherit. Okay, so we're dealing with Iris. We also have this transcript of a therapy session with a vampire and her therapist in like maybe a couple years prior to Iris. And then we have the diary of Lucy from the 1890s, detailing all of these men trying to court her and how she hopes her mother just dies already. The beginning, I really enjoyed it at the beginning. Now we're at the 35% mark. This book is almost 500 pages. I feel like I would like something to happen. I think that the way that the storytelling is laid out is a little bizarre. I really love Iris, and I'm kind of interested in the therapy session and the diary, but not so much. Like, I understand that I need it for the plot, but I kind of don't love Lucy's voice. And the therapy session, it's like we're being told one story, but like the 3 timelines are happening simultaneously, like the beginning, middle, and end. And so it's just like an interesting choice. It's just one of those things where I kind of mentioned it, I guess, with Invocations, where if you're gonna have multiple POVs, they all need to be equally strong. And in this case, because one of them is much more stronger, makes the other 2 feel very weak. So I will let you know. I'm gonna push through, but so far I really enjoyed the first 20%, and now from 20 to 34% has been a struggle. I can't believe we're not even close to, I guess, the action starting, but because the story's being told all at the same time, I don't know what a climax is gonna be. Anyway, basically, it's just been confusing so far, but I really want to give it a shot. Also, let's talk about the arcs that I got, because I was on my NetGalley game this month and I got so many good books. All right, so how do I start? Books that are on my TBR for NetGalley. Okay, these are coming out much later in the year. I will be reading Mistress of Lies, Januaries, which I believe are a collection of short stories by Olivia Blake. We also have a collection of short stories by Naomi Novik called Buried Deep. I'm currently reading Lucy Undying. I also got the arc for The City and Its Uncertain Walls by Haruki Murakami. Kurt read this book a long time ago because you translate Japanese to Korean much quicker than you do Japanese to English. So he has already read the book and I've just been sitting here. But now I can. Okay. So we got Murakami. I also got the new Sabata here, Air. Cannot wait. And then this will be fun. So yeah, my ARC game, very excited. So yeah, that's what this month has looked like. Also, do me a big favor and please leave your favorite rom-coms down below, because I will be on 2 11-hour flights next month. So I'll be reading a lot of rom-coms. Yeah, I will. I think I might try and read Happy Place on one of those flights just so that I can finally figure out what my favorite Emily Henry is. Let me know your thoughts. And yeah, that was a weird month. June was very strange. But I hope you maybe found something that you're interested in. And I highly recommend those short stories so much. So yeah, as usual, let me know what you are reading, your thoughts on what I read, what I should be reading next month. And once again, thank you so much to Book of the Month. There will be a code and a link down below. You can go to bookofthemonth.com. Use the code WAVES to get your first book for $9.99. Okay? And yeah, check out their audiobooks, check out their app. Thank you as always, Book of the Month. And I will leave you here because I need to go drink water. I was running around all day with a friend, and it's summer or winter for my Southern Hemisphere folks. And we need to stay hydrated, okay? So I can feel dehydration headache coming, to be honest. So I'm gonna go. But please, rom-coms, what can I read on the airplane that will make me laugh out loud and cry and use Kurt's sleeve as a tissue? Can't wait. Okay? So yes, I will talk to you guys very soon, and thank you always. Give me some recommendations. I'll catch you later, okay? Love you always.